All right, boys and girls, this is your final video lesson of 2016. It's an important one. It's going to cover some major things that's going to help you do a very good job on your executive branch test. So, good luck on this. Yesterday, while everybody was going for choir, band, and orchestra concerts, we talked about impeachment. At the end of the lesson, I will go over your impeachment project if you were gone, so you know what you need to have done by the time some point after Christmas. Okay? Very small project, but some important details to share. In the meantime, here's some review. Everybody, I would like you to go to your notebooks. Page 23 should now look like this. We've got a nice little flip up of the executive branch notes there. And on page 24, which should be blank, I would like you to write this down. Yesterday, we spoke about how President Bill Clinton was impeached in the House, but in the Senate, he did not get impeached there, so he was not thrown out of office. But more on that later. Let's get to your notes, which you're going to have to write in. Let's go over impeach. First word you got to know, it will be on your test for sure. Impeaching is a formal accusation or a formal charge for wrongdoing or misconduct or misuse of power. We talked about Richard Nixon in the Watergate scandal and how he had withheld tapes, and he also stopped his connections, his workers in the White House from being interviewed who were connected to the burglars. That's obstruction of justice. That's an impeachable charge. There is a process. Step one is it goes to the House. Process starts here, you come up with the charges, and you only need a simple majority, so one more than half, to get the charges made. We've had a few presidents actually get those impeachment charges by the House, and only a few of them go to Senate. Senate is step two. After we have a simple majority, one more than half, it goes to the Senate, and the Senate acts as the jury. So those 100 people serve as the jury for the official. Now, both sides of the story are presented here for the prosecution and the defense, and then they make their decision that way. There has never been a president that has been removed from office. Richard M. Nixon probably would have been, which is probably why he resigned. The conviction, remember, it's never happened. You need 2/3 of a vote from the senators, so 67 out of 100 people need to say, yes, this person is guilty. And the closest we've ever come is Andrew Johnson, AJ, in 1868. He was not removed by a single vote, and most people believe, historian-wise, that it's because he adjusted his ways. He promised the radical Republicans who wanted his head on a spike that he would start passing legislation in Congress to help kind of rejuvenate the South and get rid of slavery and slave laws. All right, enough of that. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is get with your desk partner. You definitely know who that is. I probably matched you up with that already, that person. Your job is going to be to come up and get one of these yellow sheets from me. It says powers of president, and on the back, more powers of president. With your desk partner, I want you to literally take 2-3 minutes, talk it over, come up with educated guesses using what you know as prior knowledge to find 1 through 8, match up the duty or job of the president, such as chief of state, chief executive, to the description on the right. After a lesson, we are going to go through and grade this. Then, when you're done with 1 through 8, on the back side, do 1 through 6. Once again, we've got the job or duty of the president and matching it up with one of the 4 powers. This is what I call a pre-reading strategy to get you thinking before I actually teach you the lesson. Okay, stop the video now and take care of that. Thank you. All right, now that we're back again, you've got your 14 answers with your partner. You're working solo or alone now. I'm going to give you descriptions of the 4 powers of president. Make sure you definitely know these for your test. Write these definitions down on part 2. You'll see there's lots of space here on the back of your yellow sheet. Executive power. Here's what you got to know about that. It's the power that allows the president to enforce, carry out laws passed by Congress. He's the enforcer. He's the number one man to get things done in this respect. The president also was responsible for creating an economic policy for the United States. Donald Trump is going to be laying this out January 20th. In terms of diplomatic power, we've talked about diplomacy. That is using your words and writing and lawmaking to kind of force countries overseas like Saudi Arabia and Iraq and North Korea more recently to follow what we wish as a world for peace and for general fairness. Sometimes this isn't an effective thing to do, so we have to use force, but we always try to not use force and dealing with foreign nations. But the president gets to make treaties with countries. Of course, it must be checked or approved by the Senate. Okay, the president can also determine foreign policies for a nation. For example, after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, FDR had to go to Congress and ask our country to go to war with Japan, and we did. Military power. This is a no-brainer. We know the president is in charge of all U.S. armed forces, from the Navy, Air Force, and all land forces. He also has the ability to call up troops or send them to, for example, in 1957 in Little Rock, Arkansas, force the desegregation of schools. We had to allow the Little Rock Nine to get into the white school, and it did take National Guardsmen to actually get that done. Last one, legislative and judicial power. There's two parts here. The legislative power is the president's abilities to suggest or recommend legislation, such as Obamacare. It might take a while to get through Congress, but generally it's his job as president to lay a pathway for laws in the future. And the president also has the ability to veto any law passed by Congress. The judicial power is the president's ability to appoint Supreme Court justices, and remember that is for life, so it is a significant thing or power that the president has, but of course the Senate must approve it. Okay, now that we have our notes down for our four powers right here, which definitely must be known for your test, your next job is to make sure that you have your answers correct for the presidential duties and descriptions, all matched up right. We'll start with the long side. Chief of State. I like to think about State of the Union when I think of this one. It's the president's job to be very formal and upfront with the duties of our country, what we want the country to do as a whole. This one is letter G as in goat, okay, which says the ceremonial head of the United States. You know, when we meet with other countries, we are definitely sending the president generally to meet the foreign leader of another country. Chief executive is going to go with H down here. The president sees that the laws of Congress are carried out and executed. I wrote down manage here. So if we're ensuring that things are getting done, we're in a management position. So that one should make sense. Chief diplomat, I wrote down that when we think about diplomacy, it means foreign relations. So 3 is going to go with B, how the president directs foreign policy with the United States and making decisions with nations outside of the U.S. Chief legislator is going to be F as in frog, and that's because it says legislation right here. It's pretty easy, but the president has the right to kind of say what he wishes for laws to be enacted throughout his term. It helps guide Congress into their policy making and probably makes it easier to pass laws. Chief of party, this is going to be C as in cat. Remember, this is the person that's in charge of the Democrats or the Republicans. Chief economic planner, obviously that's going to be D, because we expect the president to plan out an economic policy. FDR did this very well in the early 1930s and helped us work out of the Depression up in through and past the 1940s. The president is also the chief citizen. He is the #1 example of what a citizen should be. So we hope going forward that Trump and any other president is a good role model for a country. That is E as an egg up here. President represents all American people. Commander-in-chief, that's a no-brainer. We know that has to do with military or armed forces. That would be A. On to the last page if I can find it. There it is. Okay, we've got our four main powers over here and the job title or duty of the president over here. So chief of state, remember, this is the person that would be considered the guy going overseas to deal with foreign powers. That's going to be the diplomat, B. Chief executive, and executive power, that's a no-brainer, but the chief executive manages a company, it manages our nation, that's A. Chief economic planner, if we're laying out policies on how our economy is supposed to run, that is also going to be an executive power, again, because it's more of that management type step. Chief legislator, this is lawmaking, it's going to be D, because legislative is in there. Chief diplomat, again, diplomatic power. So some of these should be real easy, others are going to take just a little bit of a thought. Commander-in-chief is going to go with our military power. All right, at this point, we've corrected our worksheets. We're pretty much all done. If you were not here, you must continue this video, okay? If you were here yesterday for the impeachment, you're done, and I would like you to work on the following items, okay? Go into your completion folder, make sure you have the electoral map, questions, and Schoology finished. Make sure your PowerPoint notes on page 23 are completed. And if your partner is available, the keyword there is available and ready, you may play the Electoral College game. Get some dice from Mr. Rush and take care of it. If you are waiting for your individual to finish up a portion of the video in any sort, this is what you got to do. You got to work on your impeachment project. Okay? I'm going to go over that right now, but those of you who are here previous day, you're done. Good luck. Do your steps right here. All right, all others, you were on the music trip. Sadly, we moved on with our life and our learning, and we are going to get you caught up on the impeachment project. Okay? The first thing you're going to do if you were gone for band, choir, orchestra on Wednesday is you're going to come up and get the yellow sheet that you missed from me. This is all done for you. You must read it, and you must know it all for the test. I'm now going to talk about your project. I'm going to go to Schoology, okay? In the executive branch under quarter two's folder, you find an impeachment project. This is a simple thing. It shouldn't take more than about 40 minutes, and it will be due some point after Christmas break, but I'm going to make this short. So like I said, I'm going to make this very short for you. We're picking between Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. You're writing a 6 to 8 sentence summary on what happened in his impeachment trial. You're going to answer these 5 questions. One thing to note is that question 2, what did he do wrong to bring up impeachment charges, is different than question 3. Why was he impeached? This is more focused on what were his charges. In both of my links, you will find what they were charged with. Okay? If we look at Nixon, he was charged with obstruction of justice because he did not let the tapes become available for use in the court of law. Okay? Answer the final 2 questions here. Down in the bottom, this is where you're going to add a picture for a point. You're going to write your nice, neatly written response here, 6 to 8 sentences, no more, no less. And then finally, put your 2 sources down here using EasyBib. I'm always here to help. Come and ask me if you get stuck. Good luck.